Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. Today, we're diving into something that one of our listeners sent us.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's research about this bacteria that seems to have a taste for plastic.
Hmm.
It's actually a common bacteria found in wastewater
So,
called Comamonas testosterone. And it seems to have a knack for breaking down peat-all-at plastic, the stuff they use for water bottles,
right. Yeah.
food packaging, all that stuff.
Yeah, that's right. And what's really fascinating is this isn't some rare, genetically engineered microbe we're talking about.
Right.
It's a bacteria that's already out there in the environment doing its thing.
So this research that was sent in it really digs into the nitty-gritty of how this Comamonas actually breaks down the PET.
Yeah.
And they use some pretty cool techniques in the study, like electron microscopy,
Oh, wow.
which lets them actually see these tiny nanoparticles that are formed as the plastic gets broken down.
Hmm.
Plus, they also use proteomics to actually identify the specific enzyme that's responsible for this whole process.
That's neat.
Yeah, so the researchers didn't just stop at figuring out how it works. They also looked at what kind of peat this bacteria prefers.
Oh, okay.
So they tested it on peat films, which are like those smooth sheets of plastic,
Right.
and also PE pellets, which are those little beads of raw plastic before it gets molded into things.
Gotcha.
So smooth sheets versus little beads, kind of like comparing a flat plain to a Rocky Mountain range.
Right.
Did the bacteria have a preference?
Well, it turns out they did. They were much more effective at breaking down the PT pellets.
Really? I would have thought those smooth films would be easier to break down. Huh.
Yeah.
I guess maybe those little nooks and crannies on the pellets give the bacteria more surface area to work with.
Possibly. Yeah.
Interesting. So tell me more about what they found.
Okay, so one interesting finding was that adding acetate, which is a common compound found in wastewater,
Mm-hmm.
actually boosted the bacteria's growth and sped up the breakdown of the PET.
So they're just thriving in this wastewater environment,
Yeah.
almost like they've evolved to clean up our plastic mess.
Yeah, exactly. Now let's get into the details a little bit.
Okay.
They found that these bacteria use a specific type of reaction called hydrolysis to break down the PET.
Uh-huh.
Remind me what hydrolysis is again?
Well, essentially, they're using water molecules to break the chemical bonds in the plastic.
Oh, okay.
It's like watching these bacteria take tiny bites out of the plastic until it's completely broken down into those nanoparticles you mentioned earlier.
Right, those microscopic Pac-Man just chomping away.
Exactly.
So as they chomp, they break down the PE into smaller and smaller pieces,
Yeah.
going from this long chain molecule to a smaller unit called BHE, then to an even smaller one called MHE, and finally to the basic building block of peat called TPA.
Right.
So they're essentially deconstructing the polymer into its fundamental building blocks.
Yes.
What happens to those building blocks?
Well, here's where it gets really exciting. The bacteria actually consume the TPA as food.
Whoa, that's huge.
Yeah.
So they're not just breaking it down, they're actually using it to grow and multiply.
Yeah. It's like they found a way to turn our trash into their treasure.
Precisely.
And here's the kicker. They found that the bacteria already have the enzyme needed to break down PT even before they've ever encountered it.
Yeah.
Wait, so these bacteria are just swimming around in wastewater, ready to tackle plastic even if they've never seen it before?
That's what it looks like, yeah.
That's amazing. Why would they have evolved this ability if plastic hasn't been around that long?
That's a great question, and it really speaks to the adaptability of these microorganisms.
Hmm.
Researchers think there might be some similarity between PT and other naturally occurring compounds that these bacteria have been breaking down for centuries.
So they're kind of pre-programmed to deal with PT, even though it's a relatively new material in their world?
Yeah.
It's like they're saying, bring on the plastic, we're ready.
That's a great way to put it.
And the researchers actually went a step further to confirm this. They deleted the gene for this specific enzyme in the bacteria.
Oh, wow.
So they took away their plastic-eating superpower.
Mm-hmm.
What happened then?
Well, the bacteria struggled to break down the PET. It was like taking away their favorite food source.
Oh.
But when they reinserted the gene, the bacteria went right back to happily munching on the plastic.
Wow. So they basically proved that this one enzyme is crucial for the bacteria's ability to break down PET.
Exactly.
That's some seriously cool science.
It is. Yeah, it really highlights how much control we have over these tiny organisms and their amazing abilities.
And this discovery opens up so many possibilities, right? I mean, if we can pinpoint the exact enzyme responsible for breaking down PE, couldn't we potentially engineer other bacteria to do the same thing?
You're absolutely right. And the researchers actually tested this out. They took the gene for this PE-degrading enzyme from Comamonas and inserted it into another bacteria called Pseudomonas putida.
Okay, so they basically gave Pseudomonas putida a genetic upgrade. What happened? Did it suddenly develop a taste for plastic?
And that's exactly what happened. This Pseudomonas putida, which normally wouldn't touch PT, was suddenly able to break down PEAT, one of those intermediate molecules in the P breakdown process.
That's incredible. So we can essentially transfer this plastic eating ability to other bacteria. It's like creating a whole army of microscopic garbage disposals.
It's a really exciting prospect, especially when you consider the vast diversity of microbial life out there. There could be countless other bacteria with unique abilities just waiting to be discovered.
This is blowing my mind. It's making me think about the bigger picture. Could this discovery lead to more efficient wastewater treatment methods that actually consume plastic waste?
It's definitely a possibility. Imagine wastewater treatment plants that not only clean our water, but also help reduce our plastic waste problem. Instead of just trapping microplastics, they could actually break them down.
It's almost like turning wastewater treatment plants into plastic recycling centers. But what about those nanoparticles that the bacteria create? Are those a concern?
That's a really important question, and one that researchers are actively investigating. We need to understand the potential impacts of these nanoparticles on the environment and human health before we can implement large-scale solutions.
So more research is needed to make sure this technology is safe and effective. But assuming we can overcome those hurdles, the potential here is enormous.
Absolutely, and let's not forget about the potential for upcycling. Remember how we talked about Comamonas naturally producing PHA, which is a precursor to biodegradable plastics?
Yeah, so we could potentially use these bacteria to break down PE plastic and then use those same bacteria to create new biodegradable plastic.
Exactly. It's a closed-loop system, a circular economy, where we're transforming plastic waste into a valuable resource. We could even potentially create biodegradable plastics with specific properties, depending on the type of bacteria we use.
So we're not just talking about reducing plastic waste, we're talking about creating a whole new sustainable industry. This is a game changer.
It really challenges our current linear model of take, make, dispose. This research points towards a future where waste is minimized, resources are reused, and nature's own solutions are harnessed to solve our environmental problems.
This whole deep dive has been incredibly inspiring. It's made me realize how much potential there is in the microbial world.
It's a reminder that even in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges like plastic pollution, there is always hope. Nature is full of surprises, and with a little bit of ingenuity, we can harness its power for good.
And that brings us to the thought-provoking question we always like to leave you with. If bacteria can evolve to eat plastic, what other solutions might nature hold for the environmental challenges we face?
It's a question worth pondering. Perhaps the answers to some of our biggest problems are already out there, hidden in plain sight, just waiting to be discovered.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of bacteria and their incredible ability to break down plastic. It's a journey that's only just beginning, and we can't wait to see where it leads. It's amazing, right? We think of plastic as this indestructible material, but these tiny bacteria are showing us that it's not so invincible after all.
I know, it really is.
Makes you wonder what other secrets are hidden in the microbial world.
Absolutely. There's so much we still don't know about the vast diversity of microbes and their capabilities. Just imagine the potential solutions out there, just waiting to be discovered.
This research really highlights how important it is to study and understand these microorganisms.
Yeah.
It feels like we're on the cusp of a whole new era of biotechnology.
I think you're right. We're starting to see that shift from simply trying to eliminate waste to actually using it as a resource.
Right.
This research with Comamonas testosterone is a perfect example of that.
This whole deep dive has been a roller coaster of excitement.
I know, it's really cool.
It started with this research you sent us about bacteria breaking down PP plastic, and now we're talking about engineered bacteria wastewater treatment plants, turn recycling centers, and even the possibility of creating a whole new industry based on biodegradable plastics.
It's amazing how one discovery can lead to so many different possibilities.
It really is.
And it all comes back to these tiny, often overlooked organisms, bacteria.
Yeah.
They might be small, but they have the potential to make a huge impact on our world.
We've talked a lot about the potential benefits of this research, but are there any potential downsides we should consider? Like, what happens if these engineered bacteria escape into the environment?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Could they disrupt natural ecosystems?
Those are valid concerns, and it's crucial to carefully assess the risks before releasing any engineered organisms into the environment.
Right.
We need to have really robust safety protocols and regulations in place to ensure that these technologies are used responsibly.
So it's a balancing act.
Yeah,
We need to push the boundaries of science and explore these incredible solutions, but we also need to proceed with caution and make sure we're not creating new problems in the process.
exactly. It's a shared responsibility between scientists, policymakers, and society as a whole. Open and transparent communication is key to ensuring that these technologies are developed and implemented ethically and safely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one key takeaway you hope our listener walks away with?
I hope they come away with a sense of wonder and optimism. The natural world is full of solutions to the challenges we face.
Yeah.
Sometimes those solutions are right under our noses, or in this case, flowing through our wastewater systems.
It's a reminder that nature holds incredible power and we're only beginning to tap into its potential.
And who knows what other amazing discoveries are waiting to be made.
Right.
Perhaps the solution to the next big environmental challenge is hidden in a drop of seawater or a handful of soil.
That's a great point. We can't wait to find out. Thanks for joining us on this incredible deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning.